Hello everyone, this is Orlando from A Collector's Dream. And today I want to talk about who ruined the hobby that we love. And that's, I got that from some other guys you'll know. Who ruined the hobby that we love with your whatever. And this comes from, I have to hand this article to Patrick Romolo. He posted this, and this is going back to this. This is where the hobby that we love began to become a business. Back in 1909. This was the first time that really the hobby was taken over and became a monopoly. And what happened back then was the American Tobacco Company took over all the, they all combined. The Old Judge, Gypsy Queen, cigarettes, Dukes, and all the other cigarette companies combined into one big conglomerate. And they were called the American Tobacco Company. And it was all arranged by Mr. Goodwin, who became the main guy and treasurer of that. So what happened in 1909 was, I will show you an article here. And this is an article from August 13 of 1909. Speculators in baseball pictures, have they struck you yet? Let me read that. Speculators in baseball pictures. Baseball pictures is what they called the cards back then. I'm going to tell you a little bit of story. I'm going to tell you who ruined the hobby. Who ruined the hobby that we love? Swipes did it. It was Swipes. Yeah, he did it. Who is he? Well, let me share a little bit about Swipes. Swipes and what Swipes did. This is the article from 1909. It says, and I'll read the rest of it, but this is the main thing. It says, ever since the world began, boys have burned with the instinct for collecting things. And the fashion in this particular changes almost as propitiously as the women's bonnets. 20 years ago, you will remember, this is in 1909. 20 years ago, you will remember, we were all collecting tobacco tags. They were as precious as many nuggets of enchanted gold. A lad standing in the community was determined by his accumulation of tobacco tags. They represented then what just sheep did to the old Chaldeans or furs of Equum. I don't know that history, but basically saying that they were like sheep. But now tobacco tags are as valueless as chaff. I guess is as crap. It is baseball pictures now that drive youngsters to the verge of nervous prostitution in a mad race for millions. Check it out. This was back in 1909 when these came out, and they overproduced these cards. They produced so many that it just became and promoted it. And this is what happened. This is what Swipes did. He ruined the hobby that we love with his. I'll show you now. The contagion has spread to older people too. A newsboy named Swipes declared Friday morning that when Ty Cobb was in such demand 2 days ago, he sold a single picture to a man for $2. Such is the length to which a true fan will go. In this picture market, there are bulls and bears, crafty, conservative investors, and harebrained speculators to be sure. It's from 1909. The rest goes on to say, so it says, basically, you saw that part there. They don't know themselves by these names. So it says that they were, speculators, and basically it says they don't know themselves by these names, but they are such nonetheless. The boys keep wonderfully well posted on the number of pictures there are in town. Pictures are cards, certain players. So they keep the number of pictures there are in town And from this, they gauge their prices. Stop the very first newsboy you happen to meet. Ask him if he has a Hans Wagner card. And the line of link and the line of talk he'll hand you back will convince you that every word of the story is true. So it talks about here another kid that it says here's another story about this, how it was. And basically the kids were trying to collect these things and go hound everybody. It says a matter of 2 minutes would mean the sale of many papers. So they rushed out there. It says, suddenly from the opposite direction, they spied a red-haired urchin dashing forward at breakneck speed. His eyes seemed ready to pop from their sockets. They glittered with a strange fiery luster. He had lost his cap. It says here, sorry about that. His disheveled jacket flapped in and out with fierce battering of the heart. Little wonder, it says, he lifted a picture high above his head and yelled, I've got a Hans Wagner, which is Hannes Wagner. Just got him, the only one in town. In a blink, he was literally engulfed with bare legs and grimy fists, heaving and swirling third of the bridge's length. Every boy had dropped his papers on the spot. Across the street, 3 other office boys perched on a third window thing. So basically, this is a battered-looking telegraph messenger who was riding past. The magic cry, dropping his wheel in the middle of the car track. It says, I'll give you this, I'll give you that, 50 cobs. So basically, he said here, the cop came, and they had blocked the street. They blocked the riot that centered there. Down the next corner, a policeman heard it and thought someone had been killed. With club drawn, he charged the crowd. After about 5 minutes tugging and straining, he squeezed the redhead boy out of there. 50 cobs, he was heard to sneer as he walked scornfully. That's what he wanted for his Hannes Wagner. 50 cobs. So I just wanted to show you that. One more I want to show you here. And this is back again. All these are from 1909, and I want to credit Net 54, some of the articles they put on here. And then this is other articles around that area. Youngsters do novel gambling. Gambling in 2 forms have become prevalent among Birmingham boys in the last few months. And this is being commented upon by interested people. In any hour in the day, young boys may be seen in a group on the business blocks matching baseball pictures which come with cigarettes. They throw the pictures on the sidewalk with the same abandon of a man shooting dice or playing crocoloo. And the odd man rakes in the pile. It is purely a matter of chance as to which side the little pieces of pasteboard fall on, and the youngsters imagine that they are engaged in an exciting gamble. The boys of the city have developed a mania for these cigarette pictures, and is very similar to losing money when, after begging and saving pictures for a week, a youngster loses his pile at one time. Many people are commenting upon this practice, as all classes of boys are inducing it. So they talk about gambling, they talk about investing, they talk about the bull market, they talk about all of that stuff. And then what happens after that is the government got involved and they started criticizing the American Tobacco Company, because they had different brands. They had the, different brands, the Polar Bear, Piedmont, Sweet Caporal, all of that. It's all the American Tobacco Company pretty much owned all of it. It was the monopoly back then. They produced thousands. There's over 250,000 T205s that are actually graded by PSA. And, they printed these from 1909, 1911. And, that's, so it said here, what happened after that? trust makes tempting bait. The papers are criticizing the American Tobacco Company for taking advantage of the interest boys take in the baseball to increase the sale of the cigarettes. The Charlotte Chronicle recently had a vigorous article along the line when the trust first began its big sales of cigarettes. It appealed to one element of the population by putting the nude or near nude pictures of women, sometimes an actress, in every single package of cigarettes. They made them popular with the lower type sports and the hangers on at the pool rooms and barber shops and salons. Today, the trust is turning its attention to trying to catch little boys by putting pictures. Let's see here. I lost my track there. Today, the trust is turning attention to trying to catch little boys to putting the pictures of some noted baseball player in each package. Is any concern selling these coffin tacks warranted in making this tempting bait to children? Talking about smoking. Commenting on the evil, the state's Louisville Landmark says, and goes back to some stuff with the prices and stuff, the gambling. It says, pictures, prize coupons, and the like are put into packages of cigarettes to induce the small boy and the lighthearted youth who is old enough to know better to buy. The pictures themselves may not only do harm, as pointed out by the Chronicle, but they induce boys to buy cigarettes when they might not otherwise buy them, and thus become cigarette smokers. The photos of actresses in cigarette packs, most of them showing a woman in a semi-nude form, were not the proper thing for small boys to have. And while the pictures of the baseball men are harmless of themselves, they are responsible for a craze which has many evils in its train. And then it goes on to talk about the gambling aspect and all that stuff and things like that. So it's just one of those things that I found this very, very interesting, and it just goes on and talks about different articles, and they started criticizing back then. It says, here's another one here, promoting the cigarette evil. It says the American Tobacco Company encloses in the packages of cigarettes and offers a sale from the business standpoint, and go on and go on. So, that's basically what happened when back in early 1900s, when the American Tobacco Company took over. These are a couple of the T206 cards, T206 and T205 cards they produced, but mainly it was the T206s, and I just kind of wanted to share a little bit of interesting things of what happened back then. See if it kind of rings a bell as to what's happening today with the box breaks and the chances of getting cards and the gambling, and some won, some lost, and that's just the way the hobby's been. And maybe you got to blame Swipes for being that newsboy who first started keeping track of how many Honus Wagners or Ty Cobbs were in his local town, and what they were selling for, and kind of created his own market movers, where he would know the price of the cards based on what they were sold for. $2 for a Ty Cobb card. That's incredible. And he wanted 50 Ty Cobb cards for his Honus Wagner, the only one in town. So great story. Wanted to share some of that with you guys and just kind of show you. This is the Tris Speaker card, his rookie card. Not in the best shape, but this is a polar bear back, which is my favorite back because it's blue. It was included in scrap tobacco. These were not included actually cigarettes. And the cigarette packs would have also sometimes a coupon in there, which would show things that you can buy, redemptions basically, type things. And there's Rube Marquard. Great picture in those days. And this was the Piedmont back. Cigarette of quality, Piedmont. So that's what happened to American Tobacco Company after they became a monopoly and were the ones that were producing almost all of the tobacco cards back in the early 1900s. They eventually kind of went out, they went out of business. Government got involved, took over, kind of shut it down, that the tobacco, the cigarette, and it went from there. After that, a lot of the cars were produced with with caramel and candy issues. So anyway, guys, have a great day. Wanted to just run a quick video there. Kind of already got a little bit more than I wanted, but just some interesting stuff as to what happened back in 1909, and just kind of sharing some of that. Thanks for watching, guys. Have an awesome day. It's Orlando, A Collector's Dream. Have a good one.